Hello friends, how are you today? I'm so happy to be here with you and to talk with you about the energies of the Schumann resonance and to talk about how these might apply and inform how we live our lives, how we manage ourselves and our personal energy. It's amazing the changes that have happened on the chart since the last round of no data being available. Let's take a look at those together, and I'd love to interpret that for you today. We're going to take a look at the numbers behind the chart again today, and I'm going to focus a lot on that today. What I do want to let you know is I have now joined both Substack and Telegram. I am Susan inspired on both of those. On the Substack newsletter, Susan Inspired Substack newsletter, I put out an article yesterday looking at the cross, the Christian cross, especially the Orthodox cross, which has the three lines, and comparing it with brainwave levels as they relate to the Hertz levels of the Schumann resonance. I talked about a lot about what that might mean. There were a lot of detailed pictures in it, so you might enjoy that, and I will link it below. If you want to join my Substack newsletter, you can have either a free subscription or a paid subscription. If you want to support me, it's just $5 monthly if you want to, just be a contributor to helping me get this work done. And in addition, I will do some special content for paid subscribers. Right now, all the articles are free because I want to give people an idea of what I am and will be writing about. If you like the video, if you could like it, if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, if you don't already, that would be super fantastic. And if you resonate with my video, if you could share it, that would be wonderful. These things really helps me with the algorithms, etc. So thank you very much for doing that. Okay, let's get into it. So here's the Schumann resonance chart for today, which is Thursday, January 13th. Now this Schumann resonance is in a range of 0 to 40 hertz, which is what this key here is on the left side. By visually looking at the various images, we can see that at times it does appear to go not only over 40 hertz, but possibly very high over 40 hertz. Okay, so this is January 11th. That's where we had the most recent, it was over 24 hours again, that the data was not available. Now, after the data came back, something very interesting happened in the red resonance. We'll look at that in a second. But first, let's look at this image here. Do you see how this shape started to form? It almost looks like a small, I called it a lens wave in the past. From April of 2021 going towards the summer, there were quite a few of these lens waves that I called it. Almost like a circular wave. It almost looks like a round shield. This started to appear on the chart, and then look, just completely stopped. It's like we're going one way and then boom, we just completely stop. It's interesting because some information in the world has come out recently that makes it look like certain aspects of stories that are being told about the current pandemic/virus situation are going to completely stop. There's something that was occurring that's going to completely stop. Now, what I want to say to you is that it's up to us to decide. It's up to the human beings. This is applicable in our personal lives. And I would ask you, what projects have you started that you now don't want to be involved in at all, okay? And then in addition, what projects have you started that you actually care about and you want to complete? And the reason that I bring this up, it's very important. We're in the last quarter of the natural new year, and so this is the time to wrap these things up and to basically kind of edit down where is your focus going to be going forward. And I'm not talking about New Year's resolutions for January. I'm talking about taking the next 3 months or 2.5 months now and really thinking about what do I want to grow in the next year? And it does look like we are going to be doing pruning. But you can also keep dreaming on the seeds of that which you have, created during 2021. One of the things that I've been doing is completing projects from 2021. That's why I've gotten on some of these social medias. I did the Substack newsletter because these are things that have been in the work for a long time. They're not things I started in January. They're things I have been dreaming on, and in some cases for probably the greater part of 2021. That's a pretty key thing. Now, this is really something here, okay? It doesn't look like much, okay, when I just show you a chart like this, but it's huge in my view. Look at this, okay? So it was at 24, sometimes 25, but 24 for quite some time. After the data came back, look what happened. It has, here's 26. There we go. Okay. It peaked up to 26 or close to 26. Okay, so we're seeing some movement to next higher level. And it's small movement right now, but it's something to keep an eye on. Because the quality of the red resonance on an ongoing basis like this is pretty unusual. For it to move even higher now is, I think, pretty dramatic. What does the red resonance being at high levels mean? What it means in general is that, this is in layperson's terms, but when the quality moves higher, in my view, we see a truer expression of what these energies really are about. What it says to me is that the red resonance, there's a lot of strength of what this represents present in the world now. What does it represent? It represents our passions, but it can also represent our deep emotions like anger. It can also represent the shadow aspects of our personality. It can also represent the forces of darkness. These things are much more present in the world and possibly in your personal world than they have been in recent months and years. Okay. And this has been the case for, well, it's been several months now. I think if we go back to this summer, I've done several videos on this where I talk about this, but it started about late summer and then it slowly moved up to now we're in the mid-20s. Okay. Now, what does that mean going forward? Well, I'm going to talk about that when I do a energy preview. But if you take a look at the frequencies here, okay, I said we were going to look behind the chart to the numbers today. You see that we're still in this, narrow 9.8 range. Now, I believe it's increased. The range has increased a little bit. Hold on, let's measure it right now. Because it was down to almost a 0.3 or 0.2 range for a little while there. Okay, you have this frequency dip here, which makes the range. It's not 2 hertz, it's more like less than 1.5, a little over 1 hertz range. So, but when we look at where it narrows to here, when you look at, for example, the past day, you can see this range here is about 0.2 hertz. So it's really interesting. This is the frequency range. So we've been kind of like getting let out of this range periodically, usually when there's an expansion of the white resonance. This is a pretty restricted expression. So it's present, it's very visible, but its ability to act, in my view, is very pulled back. And you can kind of monitor the ability to act by looking at the amplitudes. So you see here, the amplitudes in general have been low. On the last video, I showed you that the red resonance amplitudes did rise for a short period in the past couple days. But here we have them back down to a high of 11-ish. So not much going on. So you have a restricted range of expression, and that's this narrow range here. What does that mean? It could mean one of possibly a couple things. Number one, that although the forces of darkness that are currently attempting to execute this dramatic worldwide plan, apparently, to control humanity, okay? That their range of activity is much more restricted. It could be that they're trying to get us into a restricted range, the human beings on the planet. It could be that our passions are getting compressed. It could be that our anger is getting compressed and our deep emotions. I don't know. But this is a lot like being locked in a person's house. These are interesting things to consider, okay? We haven't seen this pattern before. It's unusual, extremely restricted. Here, I'm just going to move this over again because I want to talk to it. Here, so you can see all of it here. Okay, so we've got extremely restricted frequencies, but once in a while they kind of get, let off, right? Steam gets let off. You get extremely, you get low amplitudes, but we did have a recent spike where the red was higher than yellow, okay? And it's unusual for the red to be higher than yellow, and I wonder if one of the things going on there is because of the compressed nature of the red energies. When an opportunity happens for letting off steam, for movement, the red shoots up higher than the yellow, which has not been the case for the past, recent years. The chart didn't move that way. It moved where yellow was higher than red always, and then it would be white the highest, then yellow, then red, then green. So I'm just pointing out these observations. Then for the red quality to be so high, that's really unusual. And the other thing about this is, hold on, now I need to move it back. Okay, the other thing about this is the green has been restricted. And in my view, the green represents the overall sort of state of humanity. Now you see here, the green went up to 32. This number is more typically where the green would always go to prior to all the lockdowns. It's like when humanity can more freely express itself, we just kind of go between, 0 to 5 and then 5 to, 30, 31, 32. That's what recent trends of the past recent years were until all of these weird restrictions. And then, boom, on the chart, we get this huge spike in qualities in green. So I'm just noting this because it's really meaningful that we got a number that big, because it's like back to normal for 2 hours. Okay, you see here, it lasted from 16 to 1800 hours. Now at that time, the red quality did make quite a big dip. So it's interesting, like when humanity's able to express, okay, because remember I said a higher quality, in my view, it reflects the truer nature of who we truly are. Okay, the quality rising higher. So when we could express more fully, there was a pullback on red. So I don't know what it means, but I think that those are some interesting observations that we can make. I want to just talk for just another moment here about the chart and then the numbers behind the chart, and that's here. This was so phenomenal. Okay, this space of blue in the chart, and you can see, right? Look at it. You can see like how dramatically different the energies are. Okay, it's almost like a personality change in a way. Like if we're using this as a reflection of human consciousness, this looks more like normal, and I'm ignoring for the moment the horizontal lines here, but this is like wow, okay, to have that calm blue. Now, what's interesting is that you can see here that during this period, there's no data. Luckily, we got the image. Okay, the image goes from, let's see here. Okay, the image goes from about a little after 12:30 to about 15:30. But this black line means, well, it means no data, or it could mean, okay, what could cause this? Okay, what could cause this for which we have no data, in amplitudes either or quality, okay? Well, let me tell you what could cause that. I'm going to go back to the amplitude chart. What could cause this effect, in my view, potentially, would be amplitudes near zero. And we have seen it before. I don't have the chart at my fingertips, but where amplitudes were at zero, and that I believe that it created a black line in the chart when that happened. And is it possible for amplitudes to be at zero? Sure, why not? Is it possible that you sleep and then you get up and do stuff? Yes, right? You have a rest period where you're still alive, your body's still functioning, but you're at rest. You're not conscious. Your consciousness, the amplitude of your alpha waves, beta waves, I don't know, are at zero or whatever the measurement is when you're sleeping. Okay, so they're down, they're flat. Maybe the waves are flat. I don't know how that would express on a graph, but yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That something about the human consciousness and condition significantly calmed here. And you know what it could be? Because it almost, doesn't it almost feel, when you look at these energies, doesn't it almost feel like a wave of relief? Because all this information has been coming out about how, I'm just going to say, things are much milder than anticipated and much less dramatic in terms of the global story that's being, talked about. And now let's address that. Look at the other amazing thing that happened. Okay, now you still have some horizontal lines here at 20 hertz. We had been looking at this a little bit here. This is about 10, 20, and 30, but look, it's almost clear here. I don't know if you can see it. You see kind of the interesting shapes around the line here. But what I wanted to say is, watch this, okay? Watch before and after. Look at January 9th, okay? Look how much activity is going on here. See this? Okay, see this? And remember, these horizontal lines were going all the way into the high beta range. Okay, and they had extended down into the alpha range. Well, right now, right after the data came back, they had cleared up significantly. Okay, this line is much clearer. This line is much clearer. This line has all this dark energy in it. Like, I feel like, let's get rid of that. Maybe whatever happened here caused us to perceive something at 20 hertz. Oh my goodness. This happened right before a whole bunch of the propaganda stories started falling apart, and maybe even showing to humanity, becoming aware that these were full of holes. And maybe that's what this is at 20 hertz. The darkness at 20 hertz, seeing the darkness, seeing the propaganda, seeing the holes in the stories. And then we get a clearing here, but it's gray, which, as you know, if you follow my videos, I don't think gray is a great color. But here, the gray is turning more towards white. So, yeah, it's a lot white right there. So let's keep an eye on it. Wow, do you see these here? Do you see how that looks like numbers? Isn't that interesting? And a face right there with horns. You know what I'm feeling? Try again another day. They're going to try again another day. Okay? This, whatever the propaganda was, didn't work. It's not working. And really, here's the next one right here. Or maybe it's humanity perceiving the truth of the stories we've been told. I'm going to ruminate on this, more on this later. The human resonance. It's all about the vibe.